Hey, welcome everybody. Growth Planning Bootcamp Day 2. Welcome. Good to see you folks here for Day 2. We will get this party started here in just one moment. Steve, welcome. Art, Lisa, Grant, Charles and Linda, awesome. Good to see you. Good to see you. Welcome. Day 2 here. We will get the show on the road. I'm just going to do a quick check in couple spots here, make sure we don't have any people panicking, trying to find links, things like that. Looks like we are good. Yeah, looks like we're good. Okay, cool. We will get this show on the road. Welcome. What's up, Brittany? Good to see you. Alex, good to see you. Welcome, everybody. All right, Growth Planning Bootcamp Day 2. Yesterday, we talked about setting that stretch goal. So I hope you guys set your stretch goal. Again, there is no right or wrong to this goal. It is a personal thing and it's based on where you currently are in your business and what your experience is and all that good stuff, as well as what is going to get you excited enough to jump out of bed in the morning and charge towards your goals, right? So we've got to have that. We talked about it yesterday, clouds and dirt. We got to have our head in the clouds. We have to have that vision, something that gets us excited, but we also need to be willing to do the work that's necessary to actually achieve that goal, right? And that is doing all the execution, the blocking and tackling, the making the calls, sending the emails, creating the content, whatever it is. We've got to do both. And today we are going to translate that stretch goal of yours into the dirt. We're going to translate this into a plan of attack that gets very specific down to the activity level of here are the things that I should be doing, how much of those things, how often. And I'm going to share with you using the second spreadsheet that we covered yesterday, how to do that. And the whole point of this exercise is to answer that question, how? Okay, so yesterday we talked about how Tony Robbins calls it the tyranny of how, that if you get focused too much on the how too quickly, then what you can do is you can kill your momentum and you can kill the opportunity to really get excited and get committed to something. So we want to start with that big, exciting target, that stretch target first, to get us excited, to make sure it's something that challenges us, that makes us develop as people, that will contribute to our lives in a meaningful enough way that we are excited enough to get committed to it, right? That's critical. And then we get into the how. And today is the how. Does anybody care to put in their stretch goals into to share just like a stretch revenue target you'd like to hit? If you want to share that in the comments, you are absolutely welcome to. You don't have to, don't feel any pressure. But if it's something that you'd like to share, please feel free. And then I'm going to put the link into the second spreadsheet in here. And in order for you to use this spreadsheet, you just got to make a copy of it. And then you can, adjust the numbers in it and all that good stuff. Before you jump in there and start tweaking numbers, follow me along here in this video, in this call here just a little bit first, because I want to make sure that you understand which things in that spreadsheet you should be messing with and which things you should generally be leaving alone, okay? Awesome. Charles and Linda shared that they would like to have 30K a month first year. I love that. That's a great number. Steve says 10 monthly recurring revenue would absolutely change my life. It would allow me to retire from my government job and be home with my family every night. Man, I love that, Steve. I love the And this is such an important lesson. And I know Charles and Linda, I know their why, but I love that Steve included the why, right? What's the impact that would come from this number? Because the number is just a number, right? Money's just paper, right? But it's what the money allows us to do that is really the reason behind that number, right? And so Steve is very clear on the impact that this will have on his life, which is awesome. And Steve, this gets me so excited, man, because um this is, that number is so achievable. And it is life-changing for you. When I hear like what you'd be able to do, it truly is life-changing for you. That inspires the heck out of me because that's what this entrepreneurship thing is all about to me, right? Is allowing us to live the life that we want to live. And Steve's not asking for, yachts in Monaco here. He's asking to be able to spend time at home with his family every night. That's a damn good goal. And $10,000 monthly recurring, Steve, is very, very, very attainable. So I hope that you truly commit to that. Nothing would make me happier than for us to be having this call a year from now and you telling us that your next goal is $30K a month and that you and your family are going to be spending, a portion of the year in Europe or whatever it is that you want to do. Like that would just thrill me to death. So Ryan says 61,465 total monthly recurring revenue at 12 months. Awesome. And I love, Ryan, how specific the number is. That's fantastic. Zach says 10 a month in revenue within first year to give me an opportunity to go full bore with his business. Awesome, Zach. Great. Awesome. Well, good. All right. So we've got some numbers to work with, which is fantastic. If you did not come up with a specific number last night, one, I want to challenge you to get that done before you go digging into the how. Okay. That's awesome, Steve. And I also want to ask you why you didn't get it done. Because if you didn't come up with a stretch target that excites you last night, that says to me something. I'm not sure what it says, but it says to me something. Either that you're not excited enough about what you're doing, you don't believe that you actually can do it, you're hesitating at committing to something. Whatever it is, I think explore that a little bit and push yourself to make sure that you get a number that you're excited about. It's a stretch, but it's believable. And then today we're going to talk about the how. Now, here's the thing, guys and gals. And I really want to emphasize this. I want to emphasize this for Steve and for Zach and anybody, Charles and Linda, anybody out there. This is not that the how in this business at this point, the how in this business. Awesome. Awesome, Lisa. The how in this business is not a mystery. Okay, we're not setting some crazy moonshot target here. We're not saying we're going to find a way to go to the moon. We're not saying we're going to invent some brand new business model. And I think it's really, really important that you fully accept that the how in this business is already established. Okay? The how in this business is the growth formula that we went through yesterday. Get enough people to see your stuff. There's got to be enough interest and quality and leadership and value in that stuff that they want to pay attention. Okay. And so there is some magic and mystery there, right? If you write a blog post on how your prospects can, do better with their marketing and hit their growth goals and stuff like that, you've got to create some content that actually is intriguing enough for them to tune into it and give you their attention. But otherwise, it's get more of that, make an offer, pull people through that sales process, and close the deal, and then deliver a service that's got enough stick to it to last. And, you know, I just say this because I don't want anybody, one, to overcomplicate this. I also don't want anybody to give yourself any sort of excuses. And I hope that going into this next year, any distractions that you have, thinking that there is some magic answer out there, some easy button out there, anything like that, that's going to make this business all of a sudden, just work. I hope that you will give yourself the peace of mind to stop that, right? This isn't a mystery. This isn't like, you can't sit around and go, gosh, I really don't know if it's possible. Again, we're not trying to get to the moon. This has already been proven. It's already been proven by lots of people over lots of years. You've got an incredible tool set and high level to be able to take advantage of, right? This is not a mystery. And so what that means, and this can be the hard part, what that means is you really are 100% accountable on whether or not you hit those targets or not. There's nobody to blame. There's no technology development that has to happen, that hasn't ever been developed before. There's no major risk that somebody has to take. It's doing your push-ups. It's doing your push-ups. If you want to have a stronger chest and arms, do your push-ups every damn morning. In the middle of the day, do some more push-ups. At the end of the night, do some more push-ups. Do that for a month, you're going to have a stronger chest and arms. And then continue doing a reasonable number of push-ups every day, and you're going to keep a strong chest and arms, right? You want a six-pack? Eat right and do some crunches, right? Like, these things are not mysteries. It's execution. Okay? And I say that all to you because honestly, I think it's the most important thing that I can do for you. Like, I've given you so much on the how already in the training programs that you have available to you, that if you're not getting it done, you just got to look yourself in the mirror and ask why. And commit. Again, put that number in front of you that is exciting enough, and get clear on not just the number, but how that's going to change your life in a way that's exciting enough that you will hold yourself accountable to do your push-ups. Because that's really what it is. It's just the accountability of execution at this point. And we're going to get into the very specific details of how that is today. Okay? But I guarantee you, if you figured out a way to get one customer, well, the only thing that's preventing you from getting 5 customers is doing 5 times more of what you did, right? To get that one. And again, in this business, the model is already proven. There's not really any excuses anymore. Okay? Charles said, removed almost all our distractions. We've unsubscribed from over 100 Facebook groups. Whew, that's awesome. Good for you. Just started deleting accounts and unsubscribing. Also have to get rid of the noise. Yeah. It's a sickness. It's a sickness in the whole entrepreneurship culture today. The awesome thing about the entrepreneurship culture today is that pretty much everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. The sickness of the entrepreneur culture today is that it's so easy to just be distracted and think that there's some easy thing right around the corner. And that if you spend your time looking for the easy thing, instead of spending your time busting your butt every day, that sooner or later, that easy thing is going to come around, and that's going to be your answer, right? It's that next piece of information. It's that next snapshot or template or whatever the heck, right? When the reality is, it's what it's always been for entrepreneurs, which is taking action, getting shit done, being accountable, learning as you go, adjusting as you go. right? It's always been that. So accountability of execution, I think that's a t-shirt. Yeah. So, all right. Thank you for letting me be on my soapbox there for a moment. Let me go to our spreadsheet. So I posted the link to the spreadsheet in the chat there. So you should be able to, have a copy of that. Okay. And again, for you to access this, I go through this every day with at least somebody in my community. When you see my spreadsheet, it's view only. So for you to have this spreadsheet and be able to do something with it, you need to go up here to File and make a copy. When you do that, you will now have a spreadsheet that you can edit because it's yours. You can't edit my spreadsheet. Okay? That's how that works. You could also export this as a Excel doc if you wanted to, right? If you do that, it should be fine in terms of formulas and all that type of stuff, but just do a double check on the formulas. All right. So that's how you will use it on your own. Let me just zoom in on this a little bit. All right. So let me explain how this works here briefly. Let me do my mute and cough real quick. As you guys know, I still have my cough. Okay. So this gets into the detail of the how. Okay. Starting with this first tab though, it's still pretty surface level. It's still like very revenue focused primarily. So we're still kind of head in the clouds, but we're getting more dialed in as to how am I going to achieve that 10K a month number or that 30K a month number. Okay. So the way the spreadsheet works is any place that you see a colored cell, that is a place for you to edit the number that's in that cell. Any place where you see just a black and white cell, that is a place that you should not be editing the cell. Okay, that's a cell that is being calculated by a formula. And not to say, you may want to go in here and edit some of these formulas to make this an improved upon spreadsheet. If you're a spreadsheet guru, that's awesome. I make no claims of being a spreadsheet guru. So if you get in there and you're like, hey, I want to, make this better, and you know how to do the formulas, awesome. Get in there and edit away. But what I'm telling you is that if you go in there and you edit one of those cells that you're not supposed to edit and you don't know what you're doing, well, then you may end up with a broken spreadsheet. Okay? Not that it's that hard to fix. It's just, again, if you're not real comfortable with these things, it might be a pain in the neck. And you might end up, crunching some numbers that are incorrect and not even realizing it because you didn't realize what you did. So just stay really focused on the colored cells. Okay? So then looking at these cells, so we said that we're going to try and hit, $10,000 a month. Okay. Up here, what this allows us to do is to start getting specific about how we're going to do that. And so let's just use the example, as I said before, that we're going to have a $497 package, a $297, and a $697. Okay. You can edit these numbers to be whatever you want. So whatever you think is the correct situation for you in terms of the packages that you're planning on offering, you can put those in here. And you could even add more here, right? So you can see here, there's some space for product 4, product 5, product 6. So if you said, yeah, I plan on having a $97 foot in the door as well, and a $997 super duper package, great. And then what you can do here is you can put in your cost of goods sold. If you are not familiar with business financials or accounting terms or anything like that yet, this is your direct cost to provide the service that this $497 is selling. Okay. So let's just say that this $497, just for an easy example, was I'm going to, give you a new website for $497. This 150 then is what it cost you as an agency on the back end to actually fulfill that website. So you spent $150 in costs on fulfilling that website that you sold for $497. That would give you gross margins then of $347. Okay, $347. So we talked about this a little bit yesterday. Gross margins. This is the number that you really have left over to spend on the rest of your business. Sales, marketing, your fancy office, your leased car, your salary as the owner of the business, things like that, right? As the CEO of the business. And you want this number to be as high as you possibly can. And thank goodness for high level, we can get these numbers much higher than you typically could in an agency, a traditional agency model. So if we took that 150 and we divide it by 497, we're saying that our costs to deliver were 30%. So we got 70% gross margins. 70% gross margins are a really nice, healthy number for a service business. 70% in a service business that's really good. Okay. I tell you that you should be aiming for 67% or better. 67% or better. And you have a business that's pretty darn straightforward to get to the point where it's dropping nice money to the bottom line, 15% to the bottom line, 20% to the bottom line, that kind of thing. Okay. So if you're down around 50%, which is very, very common in service businesses, that you would have like a 50% gross margin. Okay. You're right at the razor's edge of that being a very hard business to run profitably. Okay. You really want to be at 67% or above. So that 70% gross margin example I just gave you, that's a good number. With high level, you can there's absolutely services that you can sell and deliver using high level where you can get those margins up to like 90%, 85, 90%. That's true like software margins. That's why software businesses are so damn profitable and so damn good, is that they really are just like super high margin. And you have some opportunities to do that, taking advantage of high level, the types of things that you can offer. So as an example, like web hosting, I think if you're paying, $8 a month to high level for web hosting and you're charging $97 a month, you're essentially right at, 90% gross margins or whatever. Right. So those are really, really fantastic numbers. Right. So, Charles and Linda, I see you tagging my name there. Is there something I'm missing? Or are you just tagging me for fun? Oh, how do you account for declining costs spread over the group, i.e., go high level? Charles and Linda, there is a whole accounting. There's all kinds of accounting approaches to that question, and I think generally the best bet. So something like high level. So you're spending whatever, $997 a month with high level. You've got your agency pro, you've got your mobile app, all that type of stuff, right? And so the first time you sign up a customer, if you were directly attributing that cost, well, then you'd go, oh, I just signed up a $497 customer. I'm actually losing money on that customer. You're not losing money on that customer. You just don't have enough customers yet to cover the capital expense of having high level, right? With something like high level, and generally in a service business like this, where we don't have factories, we're not investing $10 million into a plant to then be able to sell our $7 widget, a bazillion $7 widgets at a time. For something like that, the base high level cost of that $997 a month, I wouldn't even worry about it. honestly, like trying to incorporate that into my cost of goods sold, because that number essentially becomes zero very quickly, right? You get 100 customers, that number's worthless, right? What you want to make sure is in that cost of goods sold number is, let's say, Charles and Linda, again, one of these services that we're going to offer is a $97 a month web hosting service. And you actually have to pay high level $8 a month for the web hosting, for a WordPress site. You want to make sure that that $8 is incorporated in there. Okay. And then let's say you figured out that somebody on your team has to spend 30 minutes a month, every month, on every website. Like, that's just like, there's always, there's some sort of maintenance and support issue, whatever. That is 30 minutes every month for each website. So then, you'd say, okay, 30 minutes of their time is, $20 or whatever. So I'm going to include that $20 in that cost of goods sold. Now, with website hosting, that wouldn't be the case, right? I mean, maybe they'd spend 2 minutes on average on each site. But you take that number, put it in there. Those are like the direct costs to support that service. Those are the costs that you're worried about. Okay. That's why service businesses are really nice and simple to run, because if we were building a factory and that factory costs $10 million, well, then yeah, we'd have to figure out, okay, for every $7 widget that we sell, if we're going to sell 3 million of them over the next 5 years, then 10 cents of our factory has to get included in every single widget, right? To make sure that we are paying for our factory. But service business, it's not that complicated. So worry about the direct costs. So as an example, let's say that you're offering a service where there's more, there's going to be more actual service, time and talent service associated with it. So your premium package, you're also helping them with some ads. And so that every month you're going to have somebody go in, launch some new ads for them, and then 2 weeks later do some tweaks to those ads. And that's going to happen every single month. In that case, you really do need to account for that person's time. So you're going to take, hey, this person I think is a $70,000 fully loaded person. And my best estimate is that they're going to be able to manage 50 customers. Okay. And so I'm going to, take the cost of that 50,000. I'm going to divide it by 12. I'm going to divide it by 50. I'm going to get a number, and I'm going to include that in the cost of that service package. Okay. So these are incredibly important numbers. If you are just getting started, okay, just follow my approach of put in 67% gross margins. Okay, put in 67% gross margins. So you take that 497 and you multiply it times 0.33 to get your costs. Okay, because that's right. Do you guys see my calculator when I put it up here? You guys seen that, or is that not shared? No? Okay. Thank you. I just didn't know if that was showing up. So just to show the formula of that real quick, if you said 67% gross margins, okay, so 1 minus 67, so 0.67. Oops. It won't let me edit. See? Sorry. Equals 1 minus 0.67. Okay. That's going to give me 0.33. So that's my costs. Okay. If my gross margins are 67%, then my costs are 33%. So then what I would do is I would then multiply this times whatever my service package amount is. In this case, it's the 497. And that's going to tell me my costs are 164. So I would put that number right here. If I was doing 67% gross margins, I would just put that number right there. Okay. So that's a good number. If you're using high level, it's a good number to use. It's actually on the lower side of the gross margins that you can achieve with high level. So that's a good conservative number, because certainly in your first year, you're not going to be as efficient, right? You're going to have time that it takes to figure out exactly how you're going to operate your services and deliver things with efficiency and all that good stuff. It just is what it is. So follow my lead and do 0.67 if you don't have enough experience in your business currently to like look at and model this really. Okay. So again, here's what we're doing here. We've got our 3 packages. We've now got our cost of goods sold. That gives us our gross margin numbers. Monthly recurring retention. So this is a 2% monthly churn. Okay. That is, a high enough churn that it impacts your business, but it's not high enough to be a killer at your business. So it's a good number to use. You are going to have churn, right? You're dealing with small businesses. You're going to have churn. So you got to have a number there. And then over here on the left, you've got your one-time sales price per unit. So if you've got, hey, I'm going to charge some sort of startup fee, some upfront costs, whatever it is, I'm going to do a project at the beginning of this package to set up their website and their funnels and customize everything. And I'm going to charge them for that. And it's going to be $2,500. And that's going to take $500 worth of time to be able to deliver that. So now you've got some upfront cash as well. Okay. And that's really important, because that upfront cash can be the difference between, you having a good month or having a month where you're stressed, right? So we want to calculate that as well. So now you've got these 3 service packages. And as I said, you can add more, but you've got these 3 service packages where now we've got some more detailed numbers. So down here, what this does is by product line, and you can see here, everything here in this black and white, everything over here, again, these are formulas or locked cells. So this is pulling this name from up here and up here. Okay. So I put in the name SaaS. Okay. So it's pulling the name SaaS from right here. Units package 1. It's pulling package 1 from right here. It's pulling package 2. So this is happening dynamically. So again, you don't have to go in and mess with that. And then it's saying, okay, Mike, what do you think you're realistically going to sell of each of these packages based on that simple spreadsheet that we used yesterday? Okay. So package 1, excuse me. Package 1, I'm saying I'm going to do 1. Package 2, I'm saying I'm going to do 1. Package 3 in this first month, I'm not going to sell any. So I'm aiming for 2 customers. Month 1. Month 2, 101. And obviously, I'm just kind of arbitrarily just putting in some numbers here. And again, guys, every plan is wrong as soon as we make it. So you're just doing some educated best guesses, putting it in here. And then as you actually start getting the experience of executing your plan, every month, at the end of every month, you should be looking at your numbers and going, okay, how did this compare to my plan? What did I learn? How can I adjust this to make it more accurate going forward now that I have some information? Okay. But what this is doing then is it's saying, okay, if you sold one of those, here's your $2,500 and the cost of goods sold for that. Now you're getting your recurring revenue. Okay. And it's stacking. So you got 1 recurring revenue unit here. So it's adding the number right there. And then let's see here, D19 plus D20. Let me just check something real quick. C18 times J9. Just trying to see why that is a 487 number. C18 times J9. Yeah. Oh, because of the churn. I gotcha. So it's calculating the churn in there, and that's why it's at 98%. So these numbers, again, this is spreadsheets. These numbers are never exactly perfect. They're never exactly reality. But what it's doing is it's accounting for that 98% churn. That's why this is 487 instead of 497, in case you're wondering. Okay. So, but what it's doing is it's going to stack up the recurring revenues. So right here, you got one new recurring revenue sale, right? And so that is stacking up in here. And then here you've got the previous recurring revenue sale. So it's starting to stack up. Okay. So now this is showing you, okay, here's how many of these recurring revenue customers you've stacked up over the course of the year, 12. Okay. And then down here you got 6, and down here you got 6. So it gives you 12, 18, 24 total new recurring revenue customers on the year. And then it shows you on the right-hand side what your annual total is for that package. And then down below, it gives you a month-by-month summary of all of the packages combined. Okay? So you see your numbers start to stack up. Okay? So again, with this, what I just modeled in here, with 24 recurring revenue customers at the end of the year, we're making $21,000 a month by month 12 in combined revenue. And the good news is the majority of that is recurring. Excuse me, I clicked on the wrong one here. Yeah, the majority of that is recurring. Okay. And we have gross margins of 16,442. So that's the dollars that are coming back to the business. So in Steve's case, by the end of month 12 here, he could have his $10,000 plus some extra cash to be spending on a new employee to be helping him with service fulfillment. So that's, taking some of that burden off of him so he has more free time, right? So this spreadsheet is taking the details of those service packages and giving you a more accurate model, a more realistic model of how you're actually going to hit that target. So the first thing that you should start with this plan is goofing around with these numbers, right? To say, okay, Mike, I said I wanted to get to 35 recurring by the end of the year. So this one we're at 13. So we've got to get to, almost triple that. So how are we going to do that? Okay, well, let's say that, we have the same start that we did, but now we're getting one more here. So now we've got at least one of every package every month. Let's say that. Okay. And then we've got 2 of this first package. Let's say going forward, we're able to get 2 of these. This is our focus. And so we're able to get 2 of those every month and at least 1 of the other packages every month. Okay. And some of the months I even have 2 in here for these others. But let's just say we get to the point where we're getting 2 consistently across the board up here. Okay. And what did I do there? Hold on. Getting 2 across the board consistently up there. Okay. And we're getting 1 down below here and 1 down below here. And now what is our number at? Now our number is at 19.4 recurring revenue. So I'm still not there. So now let's say, okay, that was with getting 2 of these every month. And then there's this 250 or a 297 package. Let's say, because it's lower price, I think I can start getting 2 of those every month as well. So let's bump this up. Oops, sorry, that was a mistake. See, thankfully, it showed me you're making a mistake. So I'm going to go here and let's say that I can start getting 2 of these every month as well. I'm not convinced that my higher price package, I'm going to be able to get 2 of those every month because it's higher price, maybe a little bit harder to sell. But let's say I'm getting 2 of my $497 package every month by month 4, 2 of my $297 package every month by month 5, and then the occasional 2 for the $697. Now what am I at? Now I'm at 20,840 recurring revenue. Okay. So not enough of a bump to really move the needle for me the way that I wanted. So now I've got to go and say, okay, what I got to do here to hit that target? Do I think I'm going to get more of these? Do I think I'm going to get more of these because they're lower price? Do I feel confident that I could bump this up to 2 at least every other month? So now I added a couple more there. And maybe this goes to, 3 every other month. And let's just see. So, we're just modeling here. We're just playing with the numbers to see what we can make happen. Okay. Now we're at 23 recurring revenue by the end of the month. By the end of the year. So, that number is starting to rise. And we've got to continue to just play with that to see what it's going to take to get there. Okay. So that's what this spreadsheet is for. And it's useful to be able to say, okay, with these specific packages that we're doing here, what does it take to move the needle to hit that stretch target that I wanted to be able to hit? Okay. Steve says, with the cost to get the client that you talked about yesterday, go in the upfront cost of goods sold. No. So Steve, it's a good question. So cost of goods sold is cost of the service delivery specifically. Your sales and marketing costs, if you look at a profit and loss statement, your sales and marketing costs, so the cost to acquire the customer, that comes below your cost of goods sold. So when I said, up here you have gross margins of 347 on that first package to pay for the rest of your business, your sales and marketing costs are going to come out of that. Okay. So that's how a profit and loss statement works. Okay. So your sales and marketing are going to be below that number. The cost of goods sold is specifically what it takes to fulfill the thing that you sold. It's not the cost to sell the thing that you sold. Okay, does that make sense? All right, so to get this to 30,000, let's keep on playing with this. 2, 2, 2, 2. So we're just monkeying around a little bit here to see what we do to get to our number. Okay, now we're at 25 total recurring. Okay, by the end of the year. And let's go ahead and make this 3, 3. So we're getting 3 every month for that second half of the year. And then let's say that we think that we can do that with this one as well. Okay, now we're getting close to that 30,000 number in recurring. Okay, so 27, 5, 18 in total recurring, 41 in combined revenue for the month here, and 31 in gross margin, which is a nice number. So we're talking about in the first year here, this business did 264,000, which is not a ton of sales, but look at the momentum that it's got in the second half of the year. You're at 41 in recurring, 41 in total monthly and almost 30 in recurring. So essentially, if this business, if all it did was go into cruise control for the next year, you're already at like a $500,000 business next year. And this is why the recurring revenue model is so important, guys. And this is why when you look at my growth trajectory at my businesses, I did like my first business, Everon, the first year we only did like 65,000 in sales total. But the next year it was like 365,000. And then it was like 1.8. And then it was like 3.8. Right? And then it was like 5.8. And the reason why is because that recurring revenue stacks. And that is the beauty of the model. So this business going into the next year, you may be looking at this and going, geez, $265,000, that's not a lot. It's not a huge number. You're right. But if you maintain this momentum in the second year, this is probably a $1 million business in the second year. If you maintain the same pace that you were doing by the end of the year on this spreadsheet, this business is probably $1 million business in the second year, right? So you're on fire. You've gone from 250K in your first year to $1 million in your second year. If all you did was put it on cruise control and not really even sign any new customers, but you just kind of maintain stuff, you're at $500,000 in year 2, right? Just based on that month 12 number. So recurring revenue is the thing, gang. And that's why I've continued to stress in all of this training that I do with you. Your obsession should just be signing recurring revenue and keeping recurring revenue. That should be your obsession, because that's how you change your life. Okay. Now, for those of you who are you've already got a business today, and so you're saying, hey, Mike, I'm starting with $300,000 in revenue. You can go here to make your model more realistic for you. So you see right here where it says previous recurring revenue units right here, and it's 0. That's because I'm assuming that this business is starting from scratch. But let's say you're already in business and you're like, okay, Mike, I've already got essentially the equivalent of 10 of these customers. Yep. And you've got 10 of these customers already. And you've got 10 of these customers already. Okay. So now it's saying, okay, you've got a foundation that you're starting with already. So now it's adding everything that we did here on top of that foundation to give you a more accurate number based on wherever you're coming from. So in this case, this would be a $426,000 business instead of a $260,000 business as we had previously modeled. Okay. So this is also a nice way if you wanted to model what would year 2 look like with this business. Okay. So let's just say, let's go back to zeros here. I'm just going to hit that. We go back to zeros on this and we say, okay, we just modeled this first year of revenue. And it says by the end here, we've got 19 total customers, 17 total customers, 13 total customers. Okay. So, and actually that would be 13 plus 12. So that would be 15, 20, and 22. So that we can go back here. If we wanted to see what year 2 would look like, if we just replicated this previous year, but now we've got a base of clients to start with. So we've got 22 here. We've got 20 here. And we've got 15 here. So if we repeated year 1 in year 2, this would now be what in year 2? $561,000 in year 2. So you just went from 0 to building a $500,000 business by year 2 that is generating darn near a $500,000 in recurring revenue, right? Which is pretty darn sick. So, and this is, again, all I did was replicate year 1. So what I did was I maintained that the first half of the year was actually really slow. If I put in the numbers 332 that we had as we ended the year, and we said, okay, we actually are keeping the same momentum that we had finished with in year 1, then you're going to see the real exciting situation, which is what this business really becomes in a year or 2, which is totally different now, right? Now we're at 675. We're almost at $700,000 in revenue in year 2. So you almost tripled the business and $500,000 in recurring revenue. And by the end of that year, you're at darn near $60,000 a month in recurring revenue. So you would beat your next year. I mean, you would beat this year's total revenue next year just in your recurring revenue, assuming nothing else happened. So now you've got a monster of a business. And this is, depending on where you're coming from, this may all seem like fantasy. This all may seem totally out of reality. And again, that's why you've got to create the stretch goal that's right for you. I can tell you in my, history in building my businesses, this is not total fantasy. This is exactly how it can work. Okay. Everon, again, I told you those numbers 65, like 365. 1.8, 3.8, 5.8, kept going like that for a handful of years before I sold it. Kutenda was $180,000 a month in recurring revenue by just after the year one mark. $180,000 in monthly recurring revenue by just after the 1 year mark. So, and that's insane. I'm not saying that you're going to do that. That was insane. That was the wheels felt like they were falling off the cart at all times. So I actually wouldn't wish that on you unless you were really well prepared for it. Okay, before I continue, any questions that I can answer here? I know I just covered a lot and I went through that pretty quickly, but hopefully you see what the spreadsheet does. Is it says, okay, here are your products. Tell me how many of your products that you're selling, and I'll tell you what your financials look like for the year. Okay, with a solid rough estimate. Again, none of this happens exactly how this models. Spreadsheets are just spreadsheets, guys. They're not, they're not reality. So you just do your best with your spreadsheets, but at least it's giving us something to work with where now we've got some details. Okay. We're not just saying, gee whiz, I'd love to make $1 million. Okay. Well, how are you going to make $1 million? Not how much you make, but how much you keep. That's right. Okay. Any questions about any of this that I can answer before we move on? I'm going to clean up on this spreadsheet just a little bit before we get into the next phase of this, just to make sure the numbers are easier for us to work with and grasp. Okay. Any questions on any of that before I move on? You guys are good? Oh, here we go. Amin says, hi, Mike, have a newbie question. Does it make sense to separate the software and our marketing system agency plan, or should we see everything as one business? See everything as one business. I mean, yeah, just do everything as one business. And I think, particularly like you said, you have a newbie, you're, a newbie. So like, what I don't want anybody to do is to overcomplicate this to the point where you're just sitting around doing spreadsheets. Okay. I've created this model for you to give you a simple enough yet detailed enough version to work with and start running. Because believe me, we could spend months, and I've been a part of these processes where business spend months trying to detail out every option, every detail of their plans. And what they do is they lose months planning. Whereas what I've learned is what you should do is get a good enough plan that is revenue focused and gross margin focused, and then go. Use that time to execute. What you're going to learn from the execution is going to be much, much more important than what you would learn from sitting around doing spreadsheets. Okay, so keep it simple. That's right. Do you recommend having a setup charge, and how hard is that for a small contracting type business to swallow that? Mike, yes, I recommend that you always have a setup charge. You can decide to use that as a negotiation piece if you want, but I always recommend that you at least present the setup charge every damn time. Okay. And again, you can use that even if for nothing else, you're presenting it just to be able to negotiate with it. Yeah, I can reduce that, or I can waive that if I can get this from you, right? Give me a year commitment and I'll be happy to waive that, right? So, how hard is that for a small contracting type business to swallow? It really just depends on how big the number is, Mike, that you're putting there. If it's a $500 startup fee, it's not hard for them to swallow at all. They may still bitch about it. Okay. Look, everybody's going to bitch about giving you money, right? So expect that. That's just human nature. But that doesn't mean that they can't pay it. Now, if your startup fee is $15,000, there's going to be a bunch of small businesses that legitimately can't afford to pay that. And there's somewhere in between there that is probably the stretch reality for a lot of small business owners. So like $5,000, let's say $5,000. There's a lot of small business owners out there right now. I mean, some of you, right? Maybe going, oh, Mike, if I had to come up with $5,000 today, that would stress me out. That's a lot of small businesses out there, but it's also a small enough number that, yeah, but could you come up with $5,000? Even if that does stress you out, even if you are going, oh, my bank account doesn't even have $5,000 in it right now, you probably have a credit card that you could put $5,000 on if you really wanted to, right? So that's kind of a number that with like those very small businesses that I feel like is a number where it's like, yeah, they can probably come up with that. If you're selling to established small businesses, so a business with 25 employees, it's an architecture firm in the city and they've got 25 employees. Look, if they've got 25 employees and it's an architecture firm, they've been around for 10 years or whatever, they can come up with 5,000, they can come up with 10,000, they can come up with 15,000, they can come up with 20,000. I'm not saying that they will. I'm not saying that they want to. All right. They may still then decide to go work with somebody else because of your $20,000 upfront fee, but can they? Yes. If you've got 25 architecture employees at your architecture firm, that means, geez, at a bare minimum, you're probably a $5 million a year business. Can you come up with $20,000? Yes, you can. Okay. So it really just depends on who you're selling to, what that number is, Mike. Okay. How good of a salesperson you are. All that goes into it. Lois, how do you guesstimate churn rate on different products or services? Lois, so if you go into my presentations where I've given you the metrics on this industry, then you can use those metrics. Churn rates are actually pretty well established and pretty well and very well studied in the SaaS industry because it's such an important number. It's a killer if you get it wrong. So there's benchmarks out there that you can use. And again, if you go into those metrics presentations that I've given you, which that presentation's in the intro area or in the first couple of modules of High Leverage Agency, of the Services at Scale course, it's kind of everywhere. Then you can get my recommendations on those metrics, or you can just use this 98% number up here to start with. That's a fine number to start with. Something that you're going to keep an eye on. Okay. Like it's going to be one of the most important numbers that you should track in your business is your churn rate. So you'll get a realistic number at some point, but let me just say, let's do this. So I just did a good old Google search, which is always important to do a good old Google search, right? Because these numbers are very well established. So I did, what is the average SMB, so small, medium business, SaaS churn rate? Because studying SaaS is going to be our best comparison. Okay. So typical SaaS churn rate is often cited to be around 5%. To have a good SaaS churn rate, you should aim for under 3%. Okay. Though there's more to this metric that meets the eye. Ultimately, understanding the nuance of your SaaS churn rate can mean the difference between stagnation and impressive growth. So this SaaStr site, by the way, right here, this is a really, really good site to find good data on SaaS and study it up. So this will give you some good data on understanding churn rate, how to calculate it, what's a healthy range, all that good stuff. So you can dig in there, but yeah, I mean, and you are guessing when you get started, but at the same time, you have to hit certain targets or your business will not survive. So you might as well know what those targets are, put the target in there, and then just know that you got to get your butt to that target, right? Because it's impossible to build a healthy long-term business if your churn rates are too high. So, so you could start with that number, like I said, and then you can take it from there. Okay. Right. So let's then move on to tab 2. Okay. Yes, Charles and Linda. Yes, yes, yes. So let's move on to tab 2. So you can see now here it says sales activity inputs. This is where the rubber meets the road, guys and gals. On, okay, now what do I actually have to do? How do I actually hit those numbers? It's one thing to model pretty spreadsheets that say, okay, I'm going to sell this many packages, but how are you going to sell that many packages? Okay. So what you will see here is I've got these activity multipliers for each package. The activity multiplier, let me explain the way this works, and I've got it here as well. Okay. But this one takes a little bit of time to I think understand and get right for people. So please, pay sharp attention here. Okay. So what we're doing on this tab is we're saying, what are the activities that I need to do to get one sale? Okay. So to get one sale, I have to do 4 proposals. So that means that I'm getting a 25% close rate, right? If I said I'm getting a 33% close rate, well, then this number would be 3. Now I'm closing 1 out of every 3. I'm doing 3 proposals. I'm closing 1. Okay. If you do meetings in person as part of your sales process, then you would put that here. I hope that most of you are not doing too many meetings in person, but you may be if you're selling just locally. So, but if you're doing more phone meetings, okay. So let's say that you have to do 8 phone meetings to then write those 3 proposals. It's essentially 5 out of 8 of those people are not going to be worth writing a proposal for. They weren't qualified. They said, no, we're not interested right now, whatever it is. Okay. 3 said, yes, I want a proposal to get 1 sale. So 1 sale, 3 proposals, 8 phone meetings. In order to get 8 phone meetings, I had to connect with 12 qualified prospects. Okay. So what do I mean by connect with 12 qualified prospects? What I mean is that somehow or another, somebody came through my sales process, whatever, they opted in for something, and I got them on the phone. Okay. It could have been like a brief introductory call, not a full sales meeting yet. But I did some qualifying questions, right? Had a conversation with them. And the result of that conversation was, I think, yep, that's a qualified prospect. They think, yep, you're somebody I want to talk to and I want to take the next step with. Okay. So I have 12 of those conversations to then get 8 phone meetings. Right. So the phone meetings are really like, that's the meeting where we're doing our sales pitch. Okay. And you can change the name on these to whatever makes sense to you. Okay. So what did I have to do to get those 12 connections? I did 500 emails and DMs and 180 calls. Okay. I did 500. Oops. Sorry, guys. Incoming call there. I forgot. I didn't have do not disturb on. That was my daughter. So let me just make sure she knows. I'm going to call and make sure she's okay. She must be okay. She immediately texted back the audacity of me not picking up her call. Okay. So to get those 12 connections, I sent 500 emails or DMs, right? That could be manually. That could be using some automated outbound prospecting system, right? It could be through high level. I called 180 prospects. Okay. So made phone calls to 180 people. I didn't have conversations with all of them, but I made, calls to all of them. Okay. And up above here, you can see you've got some other options. If you wanted to do direct mail, you can put that number in here. I said I asked for 2 referrals. So somewhere out and about in my networking process or talking to existing customers or whatever, I asked for a couple of referrals. I went to a networking event. I got 60 new leads in. So 60 leads on our website came in inbound. I got 200 clicks, and I got and clicks being clicks onto, from our ad onto our landing page, that type of thing. And 7,500 impressions. So again, thinking back to our growth formula, we said we have to get impressions. Those people have to click things. They have to then opt into something, right? So this 60 out of 200 is a little over over 25% opt-in rate, a little under 33, is that right? Yeah, about a 30% opt-in rate. So, which is realistic, right? And then 200 out of 7,500, that is a 200 divided by 7,500. That's a 2.7% click-through rate. So that's a good realistic number as well. So I promoted some article out there on these are the best ways that a business can, grow. I got 7,500 impressions, 200 people clicked through to get the article. 60% of people ended up opting in. I went to a networking event, met some people, asked for some referrals, made 180 calls, sent 500 emails. All of that resulted in me connecting with 12 prospects on the phone, 8 of which resulted in an actual sales meeting. 3 of those resulted in proposals, and I got 1 sale. Okay. How realistic are these numbers? Pretty realistic. Not bad at all. Okay, not bad at all. Based on my experience, based on all the industry metrics that are out there that I can find and point to and all that good stuff. Now, Charles and Linda says, I thought my cold call cowboy days were behind me. You don't have to cold call. Okay, you don't have to cold call. There's nothing that says that you have to cold call. If you go through my updated high leverage agency training, I say in there, if you're just getting started and you're trying to get the train pulling out of the station as fast as you can for the first 90 days, cold call, cold email, cold call, do everything that you can. Okay. But if you are not just getting started, or you don't have time to cold call, awesome. Do more content marketing and promote your content with some more ad budget and get your impressions that way, right? These are all just impressions. A cold call is an impression. A blog post being promoted to people online is an impression. How you get those impressions is up to you. The ideal scenario is that we've got a variety of ways that we're getting those impressions, because some people are going to respond to certain things and some people are going to respond to others. But you don't have to cold call. Okay? So that's up to you. I'm just putting this in here as an example. Okay? And Charles and Linda says, is it worth messing with these numbers? Sure. You can mess with these numbers. Just make sure that you are, what I want you to do with these numbers is to mess with them in a way that you are committed to executing. So if you say, hey, I'm not going to do any cold calls, I don't have time. I'm still working a full-time job in the government, like Steve, right? Like I don't have time to make cold calls. Okay. Well, then you better send more emails, because you can set that up to be automated. And you should probably do more content marketing and put more ad budget so that you get more impressions up here. Turn that into 15,000 impressions on your content instead. Okay. So whatever you're actually committed to is what you should put these numbers in here. Right. Now, these numbers though are based on some baseline metrics, as I said, that are pretty realistic. So if you're going to take away from doing calls, you need to add to doing something else, right? And you're putting your best case numbers in here. So if you took away all those calls, maybe you double the emails that you send, and, update that to 1,000. Pretty soon you will have real data to work with. Again, these are all just spreadsheets, guys. We're just doing our best to give ourselves a plan that's based on some reality. Okay? But pretty quickly, following my approach here, you will have real data to use to actually then determine should these numbers be changed. Okay, and I'll show you here in just 1 minute. Okay, but we're doing this for each of our products. Okay? So Charles and Linda, you'll see here. These are not weekly or monthly. This is to get one customer. Okay, this is to get one customer. It doesn't matter that these are weekly or monthly or daily or whatever. The answer is it's to get one customer. So if you do this every hour and get a new customer every hour, awesome. If you can do this every month and you get one new customer, then that's where you're at, right? So it's to get one new customer. But I'll show you how this results in a plan by day, by week, by month here next. Okay? So, but first, before we go on to that, this needs to be done per product. Okay? And I want to explain this, and it says right over here, be cautious of entering duplicate activities. For example, if product 2 is an upsell of product 1, and product number 1's major activity is to add 100 people to our list in order to make the sale, I don't then need to add the same 100 people to our list as an activity of product number 2, as product number 2 sales come from the same group of people that bought product number 1. So if number 2 is a direct upsell of number 1, then I don't need to double all of my marketing activities down here, right? Because it's an upsell. So I'm getting the people who buy product number 1 up here, and then a percentage of those are going to buy product number 2. Similarly, if you are selling to, if you're selling those 3 packages that we said we're selling before, right? So you've got 3 packages here. Some of these numbers, you're going to get some kind of benefits of scale, right? These numbers won't have to be exactly double to get the next customer of the different package, but you're going to find that out over time. So until you've got some real data to work with, I'd suggest that you just go ahead, unless it's an upsell package, but if these are separate packages that you're selling, like we modeled before, I would recommend that you just go ahead and put in the activity numbers as if you're having to sell 3 separate things and you've got to do all the work to sell each of them. Okay? So what this results in is an activity plan. You can see here, this is all created automatically. There's no colored cells here, right? So you don't have to mess around with any of this. This is just kind of showing you how this is coming about, okay? This is telling you what you got to do each month to get your sales. Okay, where does this number come from? This 3 sales, this comes from our first spreadsheet. Okay, so our first spreadsheet, product number 1, remember I said we're going to get 3 this first month? You can see the number right there. So this sales activity plan is saying, okay, if you want to get 3, I need to multiply the activity inputs that you put here for this product by 3 to get you 3 sales. So you're going to have to do 9 proposals to get 3 sales. You're going to have to do 8 proposals to get your 2 sales. You're going to have to do 8 proposals to get your 2 sales for package number 3, for package number 2, package number 2, package number 1. You're doing 9 to get 3. So it's multiplying everything out based on what you put in your forecast and then what you put in your sales activity inputs to give you a consolidated sales activity plan. And then the next thing that it's doing, this month 1 activity tracker, activity and results tracker, this is saying, okay, we've got to add these things together, and I've got to update that real quick. Just so you know, gang, I've got to update that number. So, because it's not adding the package 2 and package 3 here. So I will update this before you run off and use it. Let me update that. And then just make a new copy of the spreadsheet. I'll do it right after the call. Okay. So what this is saying is that it's adding up all the stuff that you have to do for the month to get your sales. And then it's giving you a daily goal then for each of those. So it's breaking it down literally into day by day performance that you need to do. Okay. And then right here, it's saying, well, how many days are you actually working in the month? Because you're not working every day, right? You're not selling 7 days a week, most likely. You're probably taking some days off. So how many actual work days do you have? And this is important, like if you're taking a vacation this month and you still want to hit your target, if you say, hey, I'm only going to be working 15 days a month, then what you have to do every day goes up. So you can see this daily goal is 1,500. If I'm working 20 days a month, then that number goes down because I've got 5 more work days to hit my targets. Okay. And then over here, you see these are all colored cells. So here's where you where you put in your actual numbers that you hit for the day. So you go and you look at your metrics. Okay, I was running Facebook ads. I was promoting that blog post. How many impressions did I get? I got 1,375 impressions. Awesome. Next day I got 1,000. Next day I got 1,200. Next day I got 1,700. Next day I got 1,300. I'm actually at 29% of my monthly achievement after week 1, which there's 4 weeks in the year. I'm ahead of my target for the month. Great. I'm on track here. That's good. And you do that for every activity that is required of you each day so that you can see, are you on track or off track? This is your daily scorecard. Remember, I told you we're going to have a daily scorecard to track our activities and our results so that we know, are we on track or off track to our plan? And we start getting the real data to see, is this working or not? Right? That's what this spreadsheet does for us. It gives us literally a day-by-day plan for the month to hit your targets. Not 100% accurate, but much more damn accurate than 99% of the people in this industry are working with, which most people are just flying by the seat of their pants. They don't really have a plan. The plan is not really based on numbers. This is a real plan. When you come to work for Mike Cooch at his Inc. 5000 fastest growing companies, if you want to know how that happens, this is how that happens. When I hire a salesperson, I say your butt is going to be in that chair from 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. every day. And here are your targets. And here's your spreadsheet that you're going to track it in. And it needs to be filled out by the time you leave here at 5:30 every day, because the first thing I do before I leave, or the last thing I do before I leave for the day as the CEO of the company, is I review everybody's spreadsheet. That's my last thing before I go home every day. I look at every salesperson's spreadsheet and I see, are they on track or off track with their activities and their results? So that I know, hey, you're a salesperson that is getting it done, or you're a salesperson that's going to get fired. That's the kind of accountability you need to have for you. Okay? Questions? Do we work on increasing show rate, close rate, et cetera, while we're doing this? Absolutely. Absolutely. So we will talk about tomorrow, Dorn, the process of like looking at the numbers and determining what our bottlenecks are so that we can improve the numbers that make sense to improve. So yes, we will work on increasing our close rate, and we would particularly be focused on working on that if that's our bottleneck. And what I mean by our bottleneck is if all the other numbers look good, but our close rate is only, half of what it should be, well, then that's our bottleneck. That's screwing up our plan. So now we got to fix that. Okay. Man, I'm so proud of myself again. We're almost at exactly an hour and a half. So does this make sense to everybody? Do you see how this works? And do you see how, again, these numbers are wrong, but man, we at least now have a clear path for this is what we got to do. If we say we want 3 sales, this is what needs to happen. This is what I need to be accountable for every day to give me the realistic expectation that I'm going to hit those 3 sales. Awesome. Awesome. Good. Good, good, good. Your job is to determine. Christy, I like it. Christy said, I've already customized my copy. What was the area where we need to fix the calculation? It's actually super easy. So let me just show you here real quick. Okay. Right now, if you look at, yeah, that's right, Paul. Right now, if you look at that monthly goal calculation, here, let me go into the actual spreadsheet right here. You can see it's sales activity plan C19. So right now it's only taking this first product's number, but we've got also 35 that we need to add in there. And we've also got 51 that we need to add in there. So what we do, we go back here and we do equal and we do plus, and we go back to the sales activity plan and click here and we do plus, and we go back here and we click here. Okay. So now my monthly goal reflects the fact that I said that I was going to sell 3 different products, and I'm multiplying my activities by 3. And so all you need to do is essentially just pull the, do the exact same thing for each of these. And most likely what that means is you could just pull this down and just copy it straight down like that. And I say most likely just because I personally would absolutely go through and double check that to make sure that that would work. But that's most likely all you need to do is just pull that straight down. Again, don't do it all the way to sales because that's a formula that's pulling. But you could do it for the rest of the numbers. Okay. And I would, again, I will go through and make that change though, real quick, just to make sure that everybody's set before you update your spreadsheet. Okay. Hey, Charles says I'll wait for the updated sheet. I would definitely fire myself based on activity levels. Yes. Yes. Yes, Steve. I love that mindset. Would you hire you or fire you? Exactly. If you were working for you, I love this is like so important. If you look at your performance at the end of every day and go, okay, Mike, if you were an employee working for me and I was paying you $10,000 a month and I reviewed your day, would I hire you again or fire you? Right? That's how you get some damn accountability here, guys. If it was $10,000 coming out of your pocket every day for your performance today, how would you pay you? Would you be glad to pay that money? Would you be glad that you made that investment? This example, the month 1 activity and results tracker tab, and the total emails plus DM. It's a red light because we're at 13% of the week on the. Let me just take a look at it. And hold on 1 second. Oh, up here. You're talking about that 13%? Is that the 13% you're referring to? Because you're saying the month one activity results and the total emails plus DMs, I'm showing we're at 14, or we're at 4%. But James, what you're asking, you probably asked this before I updated those numbers or something like that, is my guess. Or well, anyway, yes, you're the way that you're thinking is correct. You want to know. Oh, you're looking at your copy, yeah. So yes, that's exactly right. So what James is asking is he's saying, well, if I get to the end of week one, and right here you can see that top number is only 13%, and let's say there was 4 weeks in the month. Well, yeah, now I know by the end of week one, I'm at risk of being off for the month by a significant number because I'm already only 50% of the way to my goal. This first week, I'm only 50% of my way to my goal because that should have been 25%, right? 1 week out of 4, 25% is what I should be here. So I'm not anywhere near my goal. So if I got to see, now I'm at 25%. Okay. So that's telling me I'm right on track. Okay. So one of the things especially when you're managing employees and you're paying their salary and you're paying their salary every month, one of the things you quickly realize is the last thing that you want to do is wait until the end of the month to realize your numbers are screwed, right? You want to track them every day so that you know, hey guys, we are off track and I have to pay you payroll at the end of the month. This isn't looking good, right? The faster you measure, the better your performance will be. The more frequent you measure, the better your performance will be. Okay. I can tell you as an obsessed entrepreneur, particularly when I'm going through like cash flow times, like I've had, true turnaround times in my career where I had to turn around the business. I will look at cash multiple times a day. Like literally, I get to be like Rain Man, where I'm like, you could ask me at any hour of the day how much cash is in the account, and I'll be able to tell you how much cash is in the account. I'll tell you what our daily accounts receivable number is. I'll tell you what my next bill that I have to pay is, like just out of the top of my head, because I'm literally obsessively looking at the numbers. I know exactly when the next check is coming in. I know exactly what Stripe is going to deposit the next day because I'm measuring the numbers constantly. Because when you do that, you fix shit fast because you have data to work with. You're informed. If you go waiting until the end of the month and go, oh man, we really missed our sales number. I wonder what happened. And then you look back at the end of the month and you look back through the month and go, oh wow, our activity levels were only 20% of our target. Well, would have been nice to have tracked that during the month, right? So this is how you create your daily plan. Okay. And some of you may be freaking out when you see that total impressions 2,625. 2,625 impressions is not hard to get when you're promoting your blog post on Facebook and LinkedIn, right? So even though that's a big number, you shouldn't freak out about it. That's the easiest number in the world to hit. Because all you got to do is just spend a little money on advertising. That's why I love paid advertising. And that's why I don't do cold calling anymore. Because whatever this number is, I'll just boost my content to make sure I'm hitting my numbers. All right. Does this make sense to everybody? Any questions? Any questions that I can answer? Some of you, your head is probably spinning by all these numbers and spreadsheets and stuff like that. And now you can see why we did the exciting part yesterday before we get into the tyranny of how, right? Because for some of you, looking at that spreadsheet and looking at those numbers and having Mike tell you that you should be tracking your numbers every day, you're like, this all sounds terrible. It sounds like work. Yeah, exactly right. Right. But man, it's fun damn work when it results in 750 grand of new recurring revenue, that you get to enjoy. That's good living. So, and this is how you run a business, guys. Like if you go to any well-run business that is, an online business, growing fast, spending money on Facebook ads, spending money on whatever, doing content marketing, this is the stuff that they're tracking every damn day. If you go to like an Amazon, they're tracking this every minute, right? If probably even more frequently than that, right? Like literally by the second. My business, Everon in particular, by the time I sold Everon, we had full-time projection of our key metrics on display on our walls every minute of the day for every employee to see. Every employee could see projection of our key numbers up on the wall. The company that I sold to, you would walk into the office and they had what looked like NORAD. Okay. It was just like all of these digital displays with all of the key metrics and key scorecards and stuff updating real time right there on the wall in front of you. That's the way well-run businesses are run. Okay. So what I'm trying to give you is the most foundational tools for you to treat yourself and your new business like a well-run business from day one. Okay. Mike, great question. Why did you decide to sell that business as opposed to growing it bigger? Couple reasons. One, I was honestly really burnt out on it. I just like the industry itself, IT, the kind of technology that we were doing was not exciting to me at all. Like it had lost its challenge, its intellectual challenge to me. And I was burnt out on it. And then the offer that we got from the business was a good enough offer. And my investors had been with me for a period of, my investors were friends and family that had been in the company now for like 6 years. Some of them maybe even a little bit longer than that. We got a really good offer. I could get them their money out, all that type of stuff. Just kind of all lined up to be the right thing at the right time. Yeah, it is exactly what Ty said. The MSP industry is such a grind. I agree. And it was the absolute right decision. Like I was so I would never. I was so relieved to be out of that industry. It just wasn't interesting to me anymore. And as much as I tried to just focus on the good parts of being in the CEO job, like I could go and acquire companies and kind of the challenge of that instead of the challenge of the day-to-day of the IT industry. It just wasn't fulfilling to me anymore. And unlike my situation now, so what I learned from that, one of the things I learned from that was that I want to be completely in control of my lifestyle. And in that business, I had brought some friends and family into it and stuff like that. And I had a couple of people that invested in the business with me. And we're not talking big amounts of money, guys. We're talking small money, but to friends and family, it was big money because they weren't rich people. Had a couple people that were a part of that were a little. They expected Mike to be a little too much of an employee versus who I am, which is I'm an entrepreneur and I want to be doing a million different things and and I don't want to have to answer to anybody. And when you have investors, you have somebody to answer to, and that's just reality. I mean, that becomes your job, is to answer to investors. And I learned through that process. I was like, oh, I don't want that. But that was my job at the time. So my job was to make those people money, and I did. I sold the business and got them nice, healthy returns, and moved on to my next thing. So, um, let's see here. Any other questions? Do you feel like you understand how to use that spreadsheet? And again, as soon as we hang up here, I'm going to update those formulas and you'll be good to go. Do you understand? Do you feel like you understand how to use the spreadsheet? Just want to make sure before we hop off here. Okay. In tomorrow's call, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about my process for how we learn and adapt. Okay? Because what you should do, once you make your plan, guys, what you should do is you should put your head down and execute. Execute your plan. Don't question it. Don't make it 3 days into the plan and go, people aren't answering my phone calls as much as I thought. Right? Don't do that to yourself. Okay? Because then you're not being accountable. Okay? You don't execute a plan and get good data in 2 days. 2 months, you're starting to get there. 3 months, that's a really good, solid period of time. Okay? Your job is to put your head down and execute once you've created this plan. Tune out the distractions and go. Okay? Now, if you're filling in that spreadsheet every day, by the end of month 1, you're going to have some good data to look back on and go, how did my numbers match up to reality? Right? How did the numbers that I planned originally match up to the reality of the results that I got? Okay. And so you're going to have some data to start being able to go, it looks like I was off here. When I made this projection, I was off. By the end of month 2, now you've got a lot of good data. So what we'll do, just like Dorn asked, hey, are we trying to optimize this and this and this while we're going along? Yeah, at some point here, we're going to have enough data to start saying, hey, I need to optimize this. This is not right, right? Either I was way off of my assumptions or I'm not performing well. And you can come to me and ask some questions around that, and I can give you some feedback, right? I can tell you, hey, look, it's not your assumptions. Your assumptions were actually pretty good, but you're just not performing real well. So we got to figure out why. Or, yeah, your assumptions were just off, right? So we will have a process tomorrow that we'll learn for how we're going to do that in a structured way so that you're not just getting all emotional and changing your plan every day, right? Again, you have got to get out of that mindset of, well, today didn't feel good, so now I'm going to go watch a webinar tomorrow on what's the easy button, right? Somebody said that there's an easy button, so I'm going to go watch that and see if I should put that in my plan now. Because yesterday felt yucky because somebody hung up the phone on me when I cold called them, right? More than just about anything, you have got to be able to control your emotions to be successful as an early stage entrepreneur. It is just human nature 101. If you cannot get yourself to emotionally manage yourself to ride through all of the little ups and downs that are going to happen and stay consistent enough in your execution, forget about it. That's the job. That's the hard part of being an early stage entrepreneur. It's tough. And that emotion, that self-management of your emotions to execute. right? And I think I've heard like Grant Cardone talk about this, and I think that he did the world a favor when he talked about some of this stuff. And actually, Jocko Willink, the Navy SEALs guy, if you listen to him, or who's the ex Navy SEAL? That's the guy who's always running in his videos and cussing like a sailor, and ex Navy SEAL David. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Um, you know, they stress in their content that it doesn't matter how I felt today. Like that didn't factor into the equation. I got up and I executed my plan. David Goggins, yeah. I got up and executed my plan. That's the difference between a Navy SEAL and a normal human being, right? Navy SEALs don't just, hey guys, I'm not feeling like going to battle today and kicking ass, killing the bad guys. Sorry, just gonna hang out and watch a little Nintendo. Sign up for. I saw a webinar. It's coming. That looks cool. I'm gonna watch the webinar. You guys go out there and kill the bad guys. Good luck, right? Navy SEALs don't get that option. That's why they're Navy SEALs. That's why they're such badasses. You need to train yourself to be the Navy SEAL of your life in entrepreneurship. Okay? If you want to consistently build success as an entrepreneur, you've got to be able to discipline yourself to get up and execute your plan. Not go, oh, I'm going to watch a webinar today because that feels easier than doing my prospecting. And that's what so many people are doing. So I'm sorry to be the hard, the bad news guy or the reality guy, but that's I feel a responsibility to that. All right. Always impression zero. My niche have no money and I can't charge. You always have the impression that your niche has no money. You can't charge more than $197 monthly. Did you have a number for hair salon, day spa, nail salon? No, I don't know those numbers well enough to tell you what that number should be. I would look at whatever the competitive numbers are in that space. So I know there's other platforms that are in that space. So I would look at what they're charging and just be competitive to what they're charging. But if they're charging $397 a month and you think you can only charge $197 a month, you got to understand that's a you problem, right? That's your psychology. And so you've got to figure that out and challenge yourself on that. Okay. But I would just look at what the competitors are doing in your market and baseline it off of that. Okay. Oh, awesome. Good. Oh, I just need to go do that. Cool. Awesome. Need reality, not BS and fluff. That's right. Absolutely. Man, if there's one thing I have learned in my life that I think is like, if there's a secret to life, getting all philosophical on you here now, it is the day that you learn to stop lying to yourself. It's the day when all of a sudden life gets dramatically easier and better. Right? And that is exactly what this is all about. If you're telling yourself that you're building a business and you are not getting shit done every day and being accountable to metrics and accountable to results, you're lying to yourself. And it's a nice, comfortable lie. I get it. We all want to do it. We all do it to some degree. But the day when you can call yourself out on your BS and go, yeah, I'm lying to myself. There is something about telling that lie that is more comfortable to me than my dream is important to me. Right? Because if my dream was important enough and I was not lying to myself, I would be doing these things to go accomplish my dream. If you're not, you're lying to yourself. And the day that you can call yourself out on that bullshit is the day that your life gets better and the day that your life gets a lot easier. Because you don't waste time anymore. You can just, hey, I'm going to do the hard stuff. Or I'm not. Or I'm not. Decide that you can't make the commitment, that you won't make the commitment, that it's not important enough to you, that you would rather have a job and a salary and a paycheck and not have to go through all this painful entrepreneurship crap. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Not for me, but there's no moral judgment there if that's what you want to do. But man, being caught in this place of lying to yourself, saying that you're going to be an entrepreneur and that you're going to do the work, and living in this half in, half out, no real commitment, spending your money, wasting your time. I have no idea why you would do that. That sounds terrible. I'm doing a couple hair salons. I charge $2.98 to set up and $97 a month for our opt-in contact list landing page. That's awesome. That's a nice, simple model, Lisa. I like that. All right. Well, that was an hour and a half of numbers and planning and 18 minutes of Mike on his soapbox talking life philosophy to you. I hope it's helpful. And I think a cold dose of reality is super important for all of us. As I said at the opening of this call today, it's not a mystery what it takes to be successful in this business. If you tell me I want to build $10,000 a month in recurring revenue, I can tell you without any hesitation at all that if you execute that plan and stick with it, you will build to $10,000 a month in recurring revenue. It's that simple. Unless you literally cannot learn, and so you can't figure out how to make your sales pitch and stuff like that, you will get there. It's just execution. It's just getting it done. All right. Day 2 of Bootcamp is done. I'm going to update that spreadsheet. Make sure you fill everything out. Update your spreadsheet. Create your more detailed model. I would love if anybody wants to show a model tomorrow completed on the call. We'll give you a virtual high five. Maybe there'll be some prizes in it, something like that. And then tomorrow we're going to talk about our growth operating system, our process for learning and improving so that we can adapt this plan as we go throughout the year in an organized, structured way, not an emotional way, to make sure that we're getting better and better. Okay? Awesome. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Titus. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We will see you on tomorrow's call. And, Charles Melinda, where will you find the updated spreadsheet? You don't have to find it, Charles Melinda. It's the exact same spreadsheet. I'm just going to update it in real time. Just use that same Google link, same spreadsheet. Okay, I'm just updating it. Once I update it, just then go in and make a copy. Give me until 3 o'clock. So 10 minutes after this call, it'll be all done. You'll be able to see me in there working in it if you just stay on that spreadsheet and watch me. Okay? Thank you, everybody. And I will post the link to it again inside the circle group in case anybody's missing that. Okay? Thank you, Mike. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, Grant. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.